Rams take the back-to-back national championship winning quarterback Stetson Bennett from the Georgia Bulldogs. This is kind of a weird one as well. I kind of feel like the same way that I did to Will Levis to the Titans. But what are your thoughts on Sean McVay now with another quarterback in his, Georgia quarterback in his room?
I mean, I think it's cool that he is backing up. Damn, why is his name escaping me right
Matt
now?
Stafford.
Matt Stafford.
Yeah.
But I think there's still questions of while yes, Stetson Bennett was incredible in college, he was surrounded by damn near an NFL team.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know if if he needs to come in, the pieces that are around him are good enough to elevate him at all. Um, outside of Cooper Cup, which is of
Right.
course great,
Right.
you don't. There's a lot of question marks. And the fit again, how kind of like you said about the Jared Goff. I don't know how much longer Stafford's going to be on the
I
Rams.
think he's on his way out. Yeah.
Yeah. So does that mean is Stetson Bennett going to be the quarterback of the future? And if he is a quarterback of the future, maybe you should have started to get a little more skill positions outside of Cooper Cup.
Right.
So it's kind of confusing to me. I don't know, and it's confusing because I really don't know the ceiling of Stetson Bennett yet. I
Right.
don't know if he
Yeah, we don't.
himself can lead a team out. We saw the national championship, but again, we the game was over with it 5 minutes into the game, mainly because
Yes.
of the defense.
Right.
So, and most of that defense is now on the NFL roster.
Oh,
So,
they are. They
and, and,
absolutely are.
and arguably the second best player on the defense wasn't playing, in Nolan Smith. So, again, I don't.
I forgot. Nolan Smith had a season-ending injury, didn't he?
Yes, like the
Yeah.
week 1 or 2. So,
That's exactly I hate to admit, I forgot that. It's probably
yeah.
exactly why he fell in the draft. Being undersized, coming off an injury. Dude balled at pro day though, or
Yeah.
combine.
So it's just a little confusing to me. And I think it's just more confusing because again, I don't know how good Stinson Bennett is.
Yeah.
Is he the player that
Oh, I do.
elevate a team, or does he need a team around him to elevate? That's I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, and that's always going to be the downfall. And before people freak out about the analogy I'm going to make, it's kind of like when we were like, okay, who needs who? Did
Mhm.
Brady need Belichick, or did Belichick need Brady?
Yeah.
Did Peyton need Breeze, or did Breeze need Peyton? We've seen the quarterback and head coach, or just star player and head coach. You know, what's it called, comparisons. And we won't know with Stetson Bennett because he was in a very loaded team that did have 15 players go in the first year they won the national championship. And then I think they turn around and take another 10 to 12 players this year. I mean, Keely Ringo, Christopher Smith, Nolan Smith, Jalen Carter, Darnell Washington, Broderick Jones, they all went, and
Yeah.
they were taken very, very fairly in the NFL draft. I feel like, with the exception of a few of them. So we really won't know if Stetson Bennett does have that capability to play without a loaded team around him. But the one thing that we cannot take away from Stetson Bennett, and again, we have to give him his flowers when we look at how he stepped up in both the first national championship game, he didn't step up great in because he threw the pick six.
Yeah.
Clearly, we weren't going to make it happen. When we win the national title in the first year, Stetson Bennett stepped up immediately. I think he was 4 for 5, only had 1 or 2 incomplete passes, over 100 yards. The last couple touchdowns that were in the game were off of his arm, making
Mhm.
NFL throws. Basically turns around and didn't necessarily have to perform big
Yeah.
in the national championship because it was a 65-7 blowout against TCU. But in the SEC title game, he did play solid.
Mhm.
Against Ohio State, he did play solid. Now, Georgia's defense did bend against that, really great NFL caliber Ohio State offense. But we can't sit here and act like Stetson Bennett didn't step up in big games and that he didn't make big throws. I understand when you play in the SEC, and this is kind of my knock on college football, the whole top 25, you never really know if the best teams are only playing maybe 1 to 3 top
Yeah.
tier teams all year before they get to the playoffs or the national championship. So that is a little bit of the thing with Stetson Bennett. Some are saying, oh, he's never going to be a starter. He's only going to be a backup. That is absolutely ignorant, in my opinion, to say if you've actually watched Stetson Bennett's game.
Mhm.
So I think Stetson Bennett going to the Rams here, it's a decent landing spot. Of course, I just gave him his flowers talking about everything he did. Matt and Stetson were, Matt Stafford, Stetson Bennett, both Georgia quarterbacks. So maybe the front office and Sean McVay kind of saw something. Stetson is that older quarterback. He does get, kind of clowned on. There is those jokes about, how he's got, I think, the 7 years or so of eligibility in
Yeah.
Georgia. But nonetheless, he was a big time quarterback when he needed to be, and he stepped up and played well. And he's not going to be dealing with a lot of good offensive players, and the defense is kind of dwindling. So maybe it's the very beginning of a rebuild, and Stetson Bennett's going to be here to see everything unfold.